Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing Gears of War 3 on the Series X, and this is my insane difficulty guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Act 3-1. It is entitled Unbreakable. So unfortunately, you are breakable on this section. You can die very normally, I would say. And this is a fortress section where you're just fending off the locusts, but it's not a situation in which you might be familiar with in the later Gears, where they have you do distinct waves of defense fortification, sort of the way that you might do in multiplayer. Although I'm the type of player in general to speak nothing of Gears of War 3 or all the Gears Wars. It just depends. But I don't play multiplayer ever. I've never played a single match of Gears of War multiplayer, any Gears of War multiplayer, and I never will. I just don't partake in the multiplayer. So, as you come up here, you will be having a checkpoint to rest on, and you're going to be going on each turret, fending off waves. But I must stress to you on this part that you don't have to do as much as you might think. Now, you have to do something, because in these games, if you don't do something, just fall back and let your teammates try to win the battles for you. It's likely to say, the game that is, it's likely to say objective failed on it. So when the Reavers drop down, you have to be really, really careful. I mean, you always have to be careful on insane difficulty, but you have to be especially careful because you have ambient fire hitting you from all over the place, and you have the fire from everybody else on the ground, and then the Reavers too. So when this ends, though, there is a boom shot on the other side that I like to checkpoint myself near. So when you do get that checkpoint, you're going to be boxed in on either side you're on. So I would probably, if I were you, get myself boxed in by that checkpoint on the side that's not this side here. So it would be the right side from this perspective. So you'll want to get on the other side of the fortress, and when you've done enough, allow the checkpoint to occur, and you'll be right next to a boom shot. Now, admittedly, it only has 4 rounds. You can't do much with 4 rounds against all of these enemies, but you can do good with 4 rounds against, groups of small enemies, such as boomers or grinders or whatnot. So I was going to mention in the last chapter as well that there's a really difficult section coming up, and I thought it was 3-1, but apparently it's 3-2. So it's not this chapter, but it's the next one. And the irony is, I don't know if it's necessarily irony in the literary sense of the word, but it's not required of you to do the because you have a path choice at the very beginning of the chapter, but if you do choose the easier path, what's going to happen to you is that you can either do the easy path, which is not going to cause you any stress, or you can do the harder path, which could cause you an inordinate amount of stress. And what I mean is that the choice where you are on the truck at first, we should have a checkpoint momentarily. There are repellers, or grapplers that do come up here, so you'll want to listen for those sounds. And I always do feel sorry for the people that are hard of hearing, and I do apologize about that. So you would want to put the captions on for that if you are hard of hearing. However, we almost have a checkpoint. So on the next section, if you do start on the truck rather than on the top of the fort, you're going to be in for a very difficult time. And it's not difficult in the sense that it's simply hard and that's it. That's not the problem. The problem is that there's a considerable variable at the end that has to do with I'm not going to say luck, but I will say intelligent timing of where you're supposed to be at any given second. So while you're scrambling around, you could die at any moment. So the thing is, I'll get you through. I'm going to do both paths, and many walkthroughs on YouTube will not cover the harder path. They'll just bypass it. So I don't feel that a guide is complete unless all paths are done on a game like this. So I will get you through it. You do not need to worry, although worry just in the sense that I'll tell you what to do, pretty much, but I can't guarantee that you'll win every time you try to do it. Unfortunately, it's a very bad checkpoint that you have to deal with as well. Let me talk about this first, because we've already talked about the shittiness of the next chapter. You're going to have some maulers that are coming in over here. Now, you have some propane tanks or gas tanks on the top that I think you can drop them when you want, but there's another part of me that also thinks that you can't drop them until you're given the Y prompt to drop them. So try to drop them if you want to, but be minded that you might have to wait for the prompt. So what I like to do, though, is try to help my team get these grapplers off, because I don't want to have one of them sneaking up behind me if I can help it. So what do I save the boom shot for here? What do I save those propane tanks for? I like to shoot the propane tanks when I see the group of maulers and boom shotters come in, because that will weaken them with the fire, the area damage on the floor from the fire. Or, and this is good too, you can use the boom shot to finish them off as they're walking through the fire, getting weakened. You can use a nice boom shot to get them out of the way, and that should help you a lot too. Unfortunately, it's not easy to judge from the other side. So if you come over here, you can judge exactly where these guys are a little bit easier, unless your depth perception, is much better than mine, and you can tell it from the other side. But you're going to have some grinders coming on in here as well after that first group that you got the prompt for. And just be aware that you're going to have 2 more waves. The wave that's last is the place that you were at in the first place in the fort. So go ahead and fall back, and now you're going to be on the second to last resistance area after you deal with this next group of maulers and grinders. Unfortunately, there's not anything else that you can use in the environment to kill them, I don't believe. Now, there is a one-shot. You saw me using it, but I don't really use it except on the maulers at first. Okay, so nice checkpoint. And there's a large gasoline drum. It's red. It's on its horizontal axis. It's on the top left. Hold on a second. When I point forward with my character, top left from here, up and to the left on the top, there's a large propane tank that you're going to be given the opportunity to shoot down at the end. Not on this wave, but you might acquaint yourself with it at least, or just know what it is. It's the top right over there a moment ago, and it's red. And it's called the last resort. And you use it at the very end when you've done enough to satisfy the game's requirements for quantity of enemies killed. And then once you shoot that, the chapter ends and you win. So how much do you have to participate in here? Well, I'm not entirely sure how many enemies you do have to fend off. I do know that on the final wave, which I've had a problem with in the past, but I knew what this was all about because I've played Gears of War 3 so many damn times. But when you are in the last checkpoint, what's going to happen to you is that you have a choice of running into the main room that you started out in, which I mentioned earlier was the last part of the fight. However, and here it is, I would not recommend going into the room over there, even if you need ammo. But there's a way to get ammo from your teammates over here, like I just demonstrated. And then there's also the turret. So you can use the turret if you'd like. And it is quite helpful. Just be minded, of course, that when you are on the turret, you can get killed easily. So you need to jump off it fast at any moment's notice. Any blood start going on your screen, stop it immediately. Yeah, so I would not try to rush into that main room thinking that you have to fend off, so many enemies and worry about that. It's just, I think it's a combination of time that you've done and also enemies killed, but I think it has to do more with time, honestly. I mean, if you do nothing and just wait for the last resort, it might give you a fail state, though. That's how this game works sometimes. But in just a moment, you will get the Y prompt to do the last resort. And you don't... I don't think you actually can hit it with any visible effect that it will produce until it lands on the ground. So we do have to have a moment for that. Alright, come on, guys. I got killed so many times in this chapter. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, there it is up there. So we see it. We know what it is. But we just have to wait until it gets pushed down here by our compatriots over here. So come on, guys. Get this shit down here. There it goes. Somebody kicked it down. Now we'll fire at it, and it will win us the level. And I will see you in 3-2. And until I do see you there, please take care.